Welcome to Central News for Friday, 21st of June. I'm Amy Forrest. In today's news, a group of Waikato University students have won the Hamilton final of the Rialto Channel 48 Hours filmmaking competition with their short form called The Empath. The team of 5, named Elysium Exit, is comprised of screen and media students. The team's entry, The Empath, was an abstract, non-dialogue short film with a converging storyline. One of the team members, Daniel Trainer, says that the main character in the film feels the emotions of others in a physical sense, hence the title, The Empath. He says, "We wanted to make a film that would leave the cinema with the viewer, a film that wasn't too obvious about everything. The meaning of our film is open to interpretation, which we hoped would create discussion amongst members of the audience." The competition is in its 11th year, having started in 2003, with just 44 teams taking part in Auckland. And in 2012, the competition grew to almost 800 teams taking part right across New Zealand. Age Concern is using National Volunteer Week to acknowledge and celebrate the contribution its volunteer visitors make in their communities throughout the country, including Tauranga. In New Zealand last year, Age Concern's 2,300 volunteer visitors collectively made more than 75,000 visits and 15,000 supportive phone calls through the charitable organisation's accredited visiting service to older people wanting more company. AVS provides lonely and socially isolated people with friendship, companionship and connections with the community through volunteer visitors who provide regular contact each week. Age Concern New Zealand CEO Anne Martin says about 8% of people over 65 identified as chronically lonely or socially isolated. Anne says the accredited visiting service is an effective response to the situation, as well as a prime example of the positive difference volunteers can make, even if it's just calling in to chat over a cup of tea or going out together for a drive or a walk. To find out more, phone Age Concern Tauranga on 07 578 2631. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Saturday will be mainly fine with just a few showers, a high of 12 and a low of 3. And the sun is out for you on Saturday, Tauranga. Your high is 14 with a low of 4. And on Sunday for Hamilton, fine spells with a few showers and southwesterlies, a high of 11 and a chilly overnight low of 2. And another fine day for you on Sunday, Tauranga, with a high of 13 and a low of 5. Just ahead, the Young Innovation Award. Welcome back to Central News on TV Central. Entries are now open for the Young Innovators Award, and there is a new category this year. The awards have showcased some of the Western Bay of Plenty's best young creative minds since 2009. Hilary Entwistle found out more.
Lynn, what is the Young Innovators Award?
The Young Innovator Awards is an initiative begun 5 years ago by Priority One, and it was about providing an opportunity to build a culture of innovation in our community.
Who can enter?
Well, at this stage, because it's always evolving, we have secondary school students, year 9 to 10 at junior level, and at senior level, years 11, 12 and 13, and a young professionals category where people under 40 can enter.
So Tim, tell us about this new category.
So the Young Professionals category was added in this year, so it captures anybody who's under 40, so all of those people that might have finished school, maybe going to university, just started a business or working for another business but have a good idea. So we really wanted to get all of those people and for them to be able to be recognised through the competition each year.
What are the other categories?
The other categories, you've got the junior, which is years 9 and 10, and then the senior, which is years 11 to 13. So that enables the younger kids to be grouped together and the older kids to be grouped together, and obviously it makes the competition a bit fairer.
What makes a winning concept?
A winning concept needs to consider creativity, innovation, sustainability, communication, and research. So those 5 things are what the judges are looking for. But some ideas might be an incredibly innovative idea that's partly realised, others might be fully realised. So I suppose a great idea will capture all of those 5 things really well and be communicated really well.
Now, who were some of the winners last year and what were their winning innovations?
So the 2 winners last year, the senior winner was Melanie Duff with the Cuzzy Cup, so that was a reheatable cup. So it's reset itself when you washed it in the dishwasher, and then when it came back out again it would be able to reheat a drink. It's quite a clever idea, and I think all the judges just really like the novelty of it and like it's quite a fun idea, it's quite nicely communicated. And then the junior winner, which was Aidan Winch, his idea was the Breathe Easy inhaler. So that it was quite a simple concept where if you've got a Ventolin inhaler, it would literally keep a track of how many you had left, so you wouldn't ever get caught out. Now, the reason why that actually really resonated with judges, one of the judges' friends had actually had a pretty significant experience where someone had actually had an asthma attack and had run out of their inhaler, so they could identify with that straight away. So it's a simple idea, but a very good one.
What are the 5 foundations that you guys are judging on?
So the 5 foundations are research, which really what we're asking students and also young professionals to do is to find out a lot about what they are actually working on or their idea, to be able to validate whether it's worth pursuing or make sure they're not reinventing the wheel, but also to make sure that their work is founded on really solid platform. Creativity, so we really want to see some interesting and new original ideas, so we want them to be as creative as possible. Innovation, which I guess is more about the process, so we want to see them go through a structured process for investigating and realising their idea. Sustainability, so obviously, especially these days, any products, services that are being developed, we want them to have an eye to the future, so sustainability is particularly important. And then communication, so any good idea at the end of the day, if it's communicated poorly, isn't going to succeed. So communication, we stress, as being particularly important for the students to learn how to communicate their work effectively.
Who makes up the judging panel this year?
The judging panel is a really good one this year. So traditionally we've drawn the judges from within our region. This year, because we're holding an innovation forum in conjunction with the Young Innovator Awards, we're bringing 5 really skilled people in instead of 1 person this year. So we've got David Darling, who's the Chief Executive of Pacific Edge. That's a cancer diagnostics company, genetics. You've got Ed Barak, who's the product manager for user experience at Tourism Holdings, so one of New Zealand's largest tourism companies. Mike Jensen, who's the product design manager at Altitude Aerospace, really progressive company that's a part of Air New Zealand. And we've got Tony Hadfield, who is the ex-general manager for Seafood Innovations, and then one of the guys from our own company, Locus Research, Blythe Rees-Jones, who's got a lot of experience in wool and wool innovation.
Tell us about Bayfair's involvement this year.
So Bayfair's always been a supporter of the Young Innovator Awards, which has been awesome because so many people come into Bayfair for any number of reasons during the week, whether it be for themselves or for their kids. So it's a great place to be able to communicate YAA through. It's also, we're holding the exhibition. Last year was the first year we held an exhibition here, so we're going to be doing that again this year. And from that, we've got the People's Choice Award, so that's pretty exciting. People get to vote what they think their best ideas are.
So what will the prize be for the People's Choice Award, and what do you think makes that People's Choice?
Yeah, well, the winner's interesting. Last year it was Melanie Duff, who was the senior winner, so obviously they agreed with the judges. They didn't know what product had won, so that was interesting. But I think probably people are looking for an idea that's fun, interesting, and obviously they can relate to, so it'll be really interesting to see which innovation they choose this year. And the the award is $600 worth of Bayfair vouchers, which is a pretty cool award. So Melanie won the Powerball last year. She not only did she win the senior award, but she also won the People's Choice. So I think she was pretty stoked about that.
So how can we enter and when do we have to enter by?
Right, so to enter you've got to register through the Young Innovator Award site, so that's yia.co.nz. And you can register there, and then the templates for your entry is very simple. It's 4 A3 boards. You can download, print them out, and either do them yourself or use them in a program of your choice. Those can be submitted digitally through to, and then they all have to be submitted by the 4th of July, so it's coming up pretty quickly, but still plenty of time for people to get their ideas done.
You can find out about the awards at yia.co.nz, and we will be following up when they announce the winner. Up next, winter fire safety. Welcome back. With the winter season now in full swing and home fires burning to keep the family warm, we thought it best to take a look back at our chat with Gary Talbot to recap on the tips of fire safety.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter whether we look at urban or rural environments, the statistics show that the majority of house fires are actually caused by unattended cooking, and in a lot of cases the unattended cooking's exaggerated by the fact that people have consumed alcohol. So alcohol actually plays a large part in fatal fires in houses, and as well as just the cause of fires in domestic environment. But it's certainly unattended cooking is recognised as the major cause of fires in homes in New Zealand.
Because that's completely preventable, really, isn't it?
It is, but we're human beings at the end of the day, and there's things that distract us when we're in the home, and especially if we've consumed alcohol, you know, that's the danger of falling asleep once we've come home and put something on the stove. And if we're busy trying to get dinner and looking after children and large families and environments, it's very easy for people to become distracted. So hence the reason we really encourage people to have smoke alarms in their homes, and obviously, you know, the New Zealand Fire Service reinforces it with their national advertising campaigns, that, you know, you've got to keep looking while you're cooking, and that's basically the same message whether you're in an urban area or a rural fire area.
Are there electrical faults quite actually that big a cause?
There are some, but they don't actually show up as a large percentage. The majority of fires are actually those cooking fires, and then we get a variety across the areas of electric blankets do cause some fires. One of the other common ones is disposal of materials from fires after you've had an open fire. That's still quite a common cause, so that's why the fire service and we as a rural fire authority encourage people to make sure that you know, as winter comes on, make sure you clean the flues in your chimneys and fireplaces, and also if you're disposing of hot ashes, they need to go into a metal container for a few days before they're disposed of into other waste.
Do we need to be putting water on them, or is just putting it in?
If you're putting them in a metal container, it's probably not a bad idea just to dampen them down, but you certainly need to leave them 3 or 4 days before you dispose of them.
So how can we get the message across of that important message? You've got to be installing smoke alarms.
I think one of the realities is you know, the best time to promote things is when a disaster happens, and that's usually the best time to bring the message to the public's attention. But through the New Zealand Fire Service commitment with their national advertising program, we piggyback on the back of that to really promote the use of smoke alarms and regularly checking smoke alarms. And there's, you know, New Zealand Fire Service has a good website in terms of smoke alarm installation. Manufacturers put good details on their packaging as to where and how to install smoke alarms.
Where's the best place to install a smoke alarm? Obviously not in the kitchen.
There's a variety of smoke alarms available on the market now, and the New Zealand Fire Service recommend photoelectric smoke alarms. They were expensive, but now are reasonably cost effective to purchase and install. They're less susceptible to actuation by cooking fumes and that, but depending on your budget, the minimum is you should have smoke alarms in your sleeping areas and certainly in any hallways. And if you're building new or doing major building renovations, you're actually required under the building codes to install smoke alarms to the building code standards. So you need to check with your local council if you're doing building work or doing renovations as to where those smoke alarms should be installed. And that information is also available online through the Building Industry Authority.
And yeah, I guess the job doesn't just stop at actually installing our alarms. We need to be checking them regularly.
Yeah, they need to be maintained. So weekly when you're vacuuming and that's a good idea just to vacuum your smoke alarms to get any dust out. They should be tested monthly, and there's a variety of different alarms on the market. Some can be tested by shining a torchlight at them. Others, the end of a broomstick will do the job if they're on the ceiling and that. And obviously with daylight saving, you have the opportunity, the fire service promote it with change to the clock to check your smoke alarm, change your battery. And fortunately today there is available on the market permanently wired smoke alarms and smoke detector systems for homes that have battery backup, and you can also buy off the shelf 10-year battery life smoke alarms, and we recommend those to people. Choose photoelectric, choose 10-year battery, and you're less likely to experience the beeping at 3 o'clock in the morning that says the battery's flat.
So what do we do if a fire does break out?
Basic rules is always raise the alarm of fire by shouting fire, making sure everybody in the house knows there's a fire, get everybody outside, have a place of assembly. In urban areas it's usually the letterbox. That may not be practical in the rural, but you need to identify an area that's away from the building on fire where everybody can gather, be accounted for. Children and others in the house, everybody should be taught an escape plan, and they should practice that, and they should be able to get there on their own without having to be assisted. So it's really important that we have escape plans for our homes, and obviously once you're outside, stay outside. Going back into a burning building on fire is extremely dangerous, even for an able-bodied person. The oxygen levels are going down because of the fire combustion. The heat is extremely high inside a building, so get everybody out, stay out, and then call the fire brigade. And it's a really good idea to make sure children, everybody in the house knows the street address, understands that when they make a 111 call, they'll talk to an operator who will then put them onto either fire, police or ambulance. And knowing your address, knowing your rural delivery number is all helpful. And likewise, when you're driving a car, it's keeping an eye on where you are on the highway. What was the last street you went past? It just helps the operators in the control rooms identify your location.
Up next, Coast Care. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Coast Care in the Bay of Plenty has a huge milestone to celebrate this Sunday in Mount Maunganui. Hilary Entwistle found out what all the fuss is about.
Amy, tell us about the exciting milestone coming up for Coast Care.
Love to, Hilary, and thanks for having us along today to talk about Coast Care. It's been going now for 19 years. We've got over 3,500 volunteers, and we're coming up to planting of the 1 millionth plant, which is a really huge milestone for Coast Care. So we're having an event this Sunday to celebrate and recognise the hard work of all the volunteers that they've put in over the years.
So what is Coast Care?
Coast Care is a partnership program and a community program as well. So it's a partnership program with the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, Tauranga City Council, Whakatane, Apotiki and Western Bay District Councils, and also the Department of Conservation. So it's a combined community effort right across the Bay of Plenty. So it goes from Waihi Beach right through to Lotten Point at East Cape, so 155 k's of coastline. And the volunteers and the representatives help look after that coastline and restore the dunes.
What are your 4 goals?
To raise awareness about coastal hazards, protect and restore biodiversity, involve local communities in the coastal management and maximise the dune resilience to coastal hazards. It's really about the community coming together to protect our coastline and ensure that it's in a really good state for future generations.
Who runs the program and how many volunteers do you guys have?
So over 3,500 volunteers, Hilary, which is just amazing. So, and these guys regularly attend planting events and help out with a lot more work, as you can see around here, like weed control and preparing sites for planting as well. We've also got over 25 community groups across the Bay of Plenty, and they're looked after by Coast Care representatives. We have 3 of those, and they manage and organise the planting events. And also you might get a call from someone who rings up and they live by the beach and they have dunes that they want to restore, and so they actually go and visit them and talk about what types of options and things that they can do to restore the dunes and supply plants and help them with that process.
Why are our dunes so important?
Dune plants are like Rocky Balboa. They can survive severe storms of salt and spray and also get buried by sand. So they have to be tough and resilient. They're amazing. They're like the barrier that you need between the sea and housing development. And without those and severe storm events, we would have major issues.
What are dune plants threatened by?
Erosion, big storm events, people, vehicles on the beaches, rabbits, weeds, infestations. As you'll see around here, all of these bare patches are where the weeds have been taken out in preparation for the planting this Sunday. Also, they used to, and still do sometimes, let animals and stock graze on the dunes, so they obviously eat the dune plants, and also sometimes fire.
Besides planting, what other restoration work does Coastcare carry out?
So a lot of the restoration work also involves getting rid of the weeds that have been introduced. So some of those weeds have come from people's gardens that they can't be bothered going to the refuse tip, and so they just decide the dunes would be a good place to plant it. So that's how weeds spread. And also little fluffy rabbits like to eat dune plants. They're quite tasty to them.
Are they worse in the holiday period over summer, you know, when everybody's here and trampling on our dunes?
Yeah, well, everyone loves to come to the beach in summer, so especially down here at Marine Parade and Mount Maunganui, it just turns into mayhem. So we do a lot of things like signage and walkways down to the beach and vehicle access and fences, just to help people stick to the tracks and don't trample over areas like that so we can protect them. Most people are really respectful of what's been happening over the last 19 years and the work that the volunteers have done.
Can you explain the ecosystem of our dunes?
Sure, there's a really good scientific answer for that one, Hilary, but I'm not a scientist. So how I would like to explain it is it's like a tug of war between the land and the sea, and what Coastcare wants to do is to make sure there's never a winner in that fight. So there's always good balance, and we want to retain the dunes for future generations to enjoy.
So how can we get involved with Coastcare?
Really good start would be to come along to the planting event on this Sunday the 23rd of June. So it's starting at 11 o'clock and it's opposite 50 Marine Parade. We're going to have some speeches at the beginning to formally thank the volunteers for their all hard work and efforts. We're going to have activities for the family as well, and we're also going to have a planting event. So bring along your spade and your gardening gloves and help us. We want to try and plant about 4,000 plants this Sunday. Also, if you can't make it to that, then look out for your local newspapers, go onto the council website, and also you can contact me and I can tell you what's happening as well. So there will be a Coastcare event coming up in your area soon.
This event will take place from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. opposite 50 Marine Parade, Mount Maunganui. And if the weather is unsuitable, the event will be postponed until the 30th of June. That is the news for today and this week. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have any news, including your own video or photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. Hilary will be back next week with more guests from in and around the region. I'm Amy Forrest. Have a lovely evening and a fantastic weekend.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.